So, our digital classroom today takes us out into top of a mountain above Buchanan Valley. And what we're going to talk about is this tree that is behind me here. It's called the hemlock. The hemlock tree is really important here to Pennsylvania. It's our state tree, but on top of that, there are a lot of cool facts about this tree that we're going to talk about through this lesson. Those logs that I measured up that we used in that first video, they were hemlock logs, and they were dead. And there's a reason for that, and we're going to talk about that here. But just really quick, this tree behind me, it looks like it's a big tree, but you know, when our settlers got here to the New World, this tree was really, really important to them. They were in abundance. Our woods looked a lot different than what they do today. Some of these trees still can be found here in Pennsylvania, called old growth forest. Cook State Forest is one of them, where you can find mature species, not only this tree, but other trees. But the hemlock, it won't reach maturity until it's about 230 to 300 years old. This tree behind me might be about 90 to 100 years old, so it's not even close to its maturity yet. They have records of these hemlocks living 800 years. Think about that, 800 years. That thing has stood in a spot. What it is seeing, the stories that it could tell, it's pretty amazing. That tree was 76 inches in diameter at breast height, and it was 173 feet tall. Massive, massive tree. I'd love to have seen that. But anyway, if you notice this hemlock tree behind me, notice the top half is the only thing that has green on it. It is not supposed to look like that. This tree, it should have green all the way down on these lower branches here, and we're going to kind of talk about that. So here's a hemlock that I want to kind of talk about, give you a closer view. This is obviously a young tree. You can see it there splitting off. It's not really a good specimen, but there's not a lot of little ones growing. But anyway, your hemlock, it has these green needles with it. These little branches here have that brown kind of color to it. On the underneath side, they kind of have two white lines. They're really easy to identify. Their needles are somewhat soft. They're not really rigid. And if you look at the bark on these younger trees, it's a bit scaly, and as they mature, it gets really, really, really big with deep boughs in it. This is, like I said, just a young species. But this one, it doesn't look too bad. It's not too thin. But we're going to look at a couple here and show you some different examples. So the Pennsylvania hemlock, our state tree, it's under attack right now. This one behind me here, you can see it is seeing better days, and a lot of them are looking like this. The video started out showing you that tree that was about 100 years old, and you can see it was just green at the top. There's a parasite on these trees. It's called woolly adalgia, and what it's doing is it's like an aphid, and it gets onto the tree, and it bores into the tree, and it drinks the sap. And every spring, they'll lay, you know, each little aphid, they'll lay close to 300 and some eggs. And it just takes over that tree. And then all those little aphids kind of dig in and burrow in and start drinking out that sap of that tree. And what it does is it defoliates the tree and debarks the tree, and then they die. And that's kind of what we're facing. So what I'm holding in my hand is a lower branch off of a hemlock. And if you look, you can see this white little cotton. They almost look like a tip of a Q-tip. Those little white, they're the eggs of that aphid, that woolly adalgin. And what it'll do here in the spring, in a couple weeks, they'll hatch out into these tiny little insects. And then those insects will take over more of that tree and branch out to other hemlocks. So it is a real threat here in Pennsylvania. But that's what it looks like, and that's what is affecting our trees. So Pennsylvania forests have a lot of different species of evergreen trees or pine trees. And here's a great example. The tree that I'm holding right here, this is a little white pine tree. They can grow pretty massive as well. And then right next to it is a baby little hemlock. So if we get a good look, first of all, at their needles, completely different, right? They have a lot of smaller branches that come off, and then the needles are on those smaller branches. They're really small, 1/4 inch to maybe a 1/2 inch. Really, really green, really, really bright. Whereas the white pine, they're singular, right? They're really, really long, really soft, but you can definitely see that difference. And they will grow just like this example, mingled in with one another. But they're pretty easy to identify the difference. Again, this is a white pine, and then this guy is our Pennsylvania state tree, the hemlock. See it go extinct, like the American chestnut. Can it happen? Possibly, but I do believe with some of the measures that our state has put in place, the future is looking pretty good for our American hemlock. In another video, we're going to talk about some of those, and we'll discuss them at that point. Hope you enjoyed this lesson on the Pennsylvania hemlock.